Nedum, over the last 72 hours or so, in your both in your punditry life, but also in your day-to-day life in Manchester, how many times you have used the phrase "dark arts"?
Dark arts. How many times have I used it? I've seen it been used a lot. I'm
Yeah,
personally not using it. And in relation to the Man City Arsenal game, I understand where people are coming from, but that's like not been new with Arsenal over the last like couple of seasons as such. And to be honest, if I was a player that didn't have a lot of possession within the game, I'd be keen to do the same thing. Like I said to some of my friends, I wonder if the league or say some governing bodies and such will try and address that, because we all know when Raya went down, like, oh, hang on a second, there's a 10-player meeting on the halfway line for 2 minutes here. It's almost as if here's a timeout within football, if you know what I mean. But this is how it goes. Like, there's no reward for an opposition side away from home to do everything they can to make sure the home team and the home fans are comfortable. There's no reason to try and give them the best chance to try and score against you. So I understand why they were doing it, and I know it's frustrating to a lot of, say, fans who play against them. But the only way to sort of stop it is by scoring against them, then maybe throwing a ball at someone's head or something like that. That's the that's the final bit for me. But again, this even in regards to that, like Haaland throwing the ball at someone, like some people are so outraged by it, but they've never heard a word being said on a football pitch. Sometimes that's the tip of the iceberg, and we've seen, say, Haaland, Gabriel, and others saying a few choice words to each other across the way. So sometimes if you can't take it, just don't give it. But he definitely took it right in the back of his head.
I am going back to the goalkeeper stuff, Brad. Obviously, your position, and Naden mentions it with Raya, but this is it's certainly common in the Premier League now. There are several teams who will get a goalkeeper to go down at a certain point if they feel they need to tactically brief their outfield players. Because if a goalkeeper goes down injured, he can't leave the field. So that's the advantage.
Correct. That's not a new thing. I think it happens a lot more than you think. Sometimes when a coach names a team and they're going out and playing, and perhaps something is either not going right or the other team does something different, and it's loud, and you're having a hard time to communicate what to do. Sometimes you also just need to get messages across. I mean, rules are there, and smart managers and staffs and coaches figure out loopholes to their rules, and then when they're closed, they'll figure out another loophole, and when they're closed, they'll figure out another loophole. So none of that stuff bothers me. I think it's just gamesmanship, and you deal with it. It's part and parcel of the game.
And that's the other thing, Nate. I think if your team does it when you're down to 10 and needing to hold on or keep a point, you're happy with it. If somebody does it against you, then you complain about it. That's how it works.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's massive hypocrisy, isn't it? You know what I mean? If we need to kill some time when we're winning, please somebody go down for a second, but not too long so they had too much time at the end of the game. But when it's the other way around and you're chasing, it's a nightmare. And realistically, the thing itself, it's all around context, isn't it? Because say if Arsenal were at home and they were winning 2-1 and they're doing the same things, it doesn't sound as bad because the crowd don't make a big noise about it. There's not a big fuss. Realistically, like, not many people in the stadium care. But when everyone else is like getting really frustrated by it, you've got the nature of how it's such a big game and other things and alike. Yeah, I get it. Like, I'll hold my hands up. I may or may not have time wasted a few times throughout my career. One time in
Did you
particular,
hang on, hang on? Did you ever go down injured when
no,
you?
I couldn't. I couldn't. That's the thing. As a defender, like, as you very well put, it's like because the goalkeeper cannot come off, it's a clever way to do it. And Brad's right, it's not just new now, it's been going on for a while. It's just clever, like everyone just has to just deal with it and just wait for them to say they're ready again, even though there's nothing wrong with them to start with. But for me personally, it was never down like that. But I remember one game, I was at QPR, I believe, we were playing away at Middlesbrough, and we were winning 2-0, and it was only a few minutes left, and we conceded to make it 2-1, so obviously it's a bit anxious now. I put the ball behind my back under my shirt, and they went to try and do the kickoff. And they're looking around like, "Where's this ball? Where's the ball? Somebody get the ball!" And I'm like, "I don't know where this ball is. I thought this is bonkers." But then as soon as like the next ball got kicked onto the pitch, it just fell out my top, and then before you know, we've got 2 balls on the pitch, so we've got to wait a little bit longer. You know, that I think we ended up winning the game as well, which is always nice. But when you're involved in the game like that, and it's not ironic, it's funny because I remember a couple of years ago when Newcastle played Arsenal. I remember the Arsenal critique of Newcastle, that Newcastle play so slowly. They're like anti-football.
Yeah.
So then to fast forward 2 years, I believe it is, and for Arsenal to be adopting similar tactics, I think it just goes to show that, as I say, sometimes, sometimes we are very hypocritical, but when it favors us, it's completely fine, isn't it?
Long time ago, so Sir Alex Ferguson used to get so annoyed because I was playing for Liverpool at the time, and Michael Owen did that two-footed challenge against Schmeichel and got sent off, and we were drawing in the game. We ended up drawing 1-1. And the second halftime, let me put it this way: with who we had in our squad at the time, with the way we played, we were trying to play football. My target man was Steve McManaman, really, off goal kicks. So I had to put him out to the right. I wasted so much time in that game. We ended up drawing 1-1, but since that was back in 97 or 98. So every other time I returned to Old Trafford, Sir Alex had in his head, no matter what team I was playing for, what the game was, what the score was, I was wasting time. And so then, just on purpose, just to wind the fans up, I did just when I didn't even need to. Do you remember, Nedum, at one stage they wouldn't allow the multi-ball system. So it was the one ball, and the fans would throw it, and you'd let it go back over your head. You'd walk and go get it. You'd put it down, then you would change to the other side of the 18-yard box when you didn't have to do it. And you just waited until you would get warned. But the referees back then, they usually didn't book you for ages, until like the last 5 or 10 minutes of the match. And it used to, and then at Arsenal, I remember once it was like the second minute, the ball went out of touch, and Thierry Henry sprinted for it because he knew I was going to be wasting time. I was at Blackburn at the time. He sprinted, it's like second minute, and grabbed the ball and put it back on the place. I was like, oh, you just killed me.